Well, howdy friends, Brian Flechsig of Mad River Outfitters in the Midwest Fly Fishing Schools, and welcome back to another one of our Getting Started in Fly Fishing tutorials. We've taken a look so far at the fly rod, the weight of the fly rod, and the length of the fly rod. And let's wrap things up today with the action of the rod. Now, this is simply the most confusing part of selecting your first fly rod. Don't let it overwhelm you. I'm going to try to make sense of this for you here today. But this is, I think, as far as the fly fishing industry, they have completely screwed this up. And nobody knows what action means. And it's highly confusing, I know, to you as a beginner, because I deal with people here at Mad River Outfitters every day that are highly confused by the action of the rod and what should they buy and why. Another reason is that fly rod action from company to company, even from person to person that you talk to, you're going to get a different opinion on every single person that you talk to. So let me see if I can make sense of this to you, okay? Here's what I'm going to draw on this board here, okay? I've made what we call an upcast. Boom. I've launched that fly line up. The line has straightened out behind me, and I'm beginning the process of dragging this line forward, okay? And again, we'll show you more of this when we get outside and start doing some casting as part of this series. But I'm dragging that line forward, and I've yet to stop the rod and launch the line, so I'm bending the rod, okay? So the first kind of action we're going to take a look at, the fly rod is going to bend basically down into the butt of the rod, the thickest part of the rod. And this is referred to as a full flex by the fly fishing industry. We're going to call that a slow action rod, okay? The second type of action that you're going to hear about, that rod is going to bend, say, halfway down the rod. The fly fishing industry might refer to that as a mid-flex action or a medium action rod, okay? And then last but not least, we've got a rod that's basically going to stay stiff throughout its length, and it's going to bend only at the very tip top. This might be referred to as a tip flex, and we're going to call that a fast action fly rod, okay? So, what does this mean, and where do you want to be as a beginner getting started in fly fishing? Okay, bear with me. I'm going to give you two ways to think about this. First, let's say that it's a nice warm June evening, and I've got mayflies are hatching. And by that, what's happening is they're going from the nymphal form to the adult form. This is the winged insect. In other words, I'm going to be throwing dry flies to fish that are rising to the surface and eating them. And let's say I get into the river, I ease into position, and over the way there's a couple of fish that are coming up and sipping these mayflies off the surface. So I tie the appropriate fly onto my delicate leader. I'm going to inch into position. I'm going to wait for the right time to make the cast based on their timing. And eventually I'm going to ease back and I'm going to make a nice delicate cast. And I want that fly to light on the water. I don't want them to let it know it landed. I don't want them to know it's attached to a leader. It's a nice delicate presentation. And if I do everything just right, that fish comes up and eats my dry fly, success. That makes my evening. For that scenario, I probably want to have in my hand a rod that's more on the slower side of things. Nice, easy, relaxed, easy-going casting, very delicate presentation. Now, I'm in the Bahamas. It's 92 degrees. I'm sweating bullets. I haven't seen a bonefish for 6 hours. A Bahamian guide is pulling me around, and all of a sudden he blurts out, "Bonefish man, 10 o'clock. I need to look at 10 o'clock off the nose of the boat, and he says, 40-foot cast now. Friends, I've got to go bam, bam, and I've got to have that fly on the nose of the bonefish as quickly as humanly possible. Guess which rod I have to have? I have to have this fly rod, or at least a faster action fly rod in my hands for that task at hand. Can you imagine if he says, bonefish, 10 o'clock, 40-foot cast now, and I had a slow rod in my hand, and I went, la-di-da-di-da-di-da. Right about here, he says, what are you doing? He said, I said cast. Right when this slow rod is not loading up, that's when I really should have had the fly on the fish's face. So send me to the Bahamas bone fishing with this rod. Might as well give me some suntan lotion and I'm gonna lay on the beach, because this rod doesn't do me much good on the nose of a bonefish skiff. Okay? I have to have a faster rod in my hand to execute the task at hand. Okay? Now, here's another way of thinking of rod action. Here at the shop, we always love for you to try a fly rod before you buy it. Because even if you've never cast a rod before, yes, all of you have a casting stroke. Whether you know it or not, you have a casting stroke, and a certain type of action is going to match your stroke better than others. Let's say, for example, a hippie professor from here at Ohio State University pulls up in the shop. He pulls up in his Volkswagen van. He's got Grateful Dead stickers all over it. And he gets out of the van. He says, hey man, I'm thinking about taking up fly fishing. Seems like it would be pretty cool. Well, we take him out back of the shop and we're going to put 4 or 5 different rods in his hand. And he's going to go like this. He's going to go, oh man, this is groovy. I really dig this. Well, guess what? I know that he's going to respond better to a rod that's more on the medium to slow action kind of spectrum. That's just the rod that's going to suit his personality, his casting style, his rhythm a little bit better. Whereas let's say a guy pulls up in a fancy car and he's 3-piece suit, cup of coffee in this hand, and he says, hey, I'm on my way to the airport. I've got a board meeting in Montana. I thought I'd do some trout fishing. What do you have in fly rods? Well, we're going to take him out back and he's going to go boom, 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 boom. I'll take it. He doesn't have time. He's got to get to the airport, friends. He's late for a flight. He doesn't have time to wait for the slow rod. He pays people to wait for slow rods. This executive doesn't have time to wait for that, and I know well enough to put this faster rod in his hands because he's going to respond better to it and it's going to feel better to him. Okay? So hopefully that makes a little sense about fly rod action. Okay? It's not a cut and dried thing, and there's no perfect solution. But the first thing we looked at is the scenario. Is it going to be a relaxed, easy, delicate fishing situation, or is it a little bit more high pressure, high strung? And then it's going to have to do with your casting stroke. Are you an easy-going, slow person, or are you a little bit more high strung and do things a little faster paced? That might help dictate where you fall. But let me give you 2 final pieces of advice. If I had to make a recommendation, I would want your first fly rod to be somewhere in the medium to medium fast range. And the good news is that most of your kits and most of your entry-level rods, no matter who makes them, are all going to be in that medium fast range, okay? A super fast rod, just like we talked about rod length, anything longer than 9 foot, anything shorter than 8.5 foot is going to be a specialty rod. A super fast rod is going to be a specialty rod. You're going to have to give me a good reason why you want to buy that super fast rod. And a super slow rod is going to be a specialty type rod. You're going to have to give me a good reason as to why you want that super slow rod and for what purpose. Somewhere in the medium to medium fast range is where you want to be as a beginner. It's going to be the most versatile. It's going to fit the most variety of casting styles. And last but not least, seek help. Consult with a local fly shop or somebody that you trust that's going to get you the right type of action for what you're looking to do at the right price. Visit your local fly shop or call us here at Mad River Outfitters Heck, we want to be your local fly shop. So give us a call here. We're always happy to consult. And if you can't get here to the shop to try out a rod, we'll be more than happy to give you sound advice in making sure you get the right fly rod at the right price. So thanks for watching. Be sure to stay tuned because we've got a lot more coming in our Getting Started in Fly Fishing program. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode. And as always, thanks for watching.